Hi guys and welcome back. If you're new around here, I am Yvette and I moved to London in May, which is about 5 months ago now. It's going so fast and I wanted to make a video today talking about British supermarkets because from where I'm from in Australia, to be honest, there's like 2, maybe 3. That's it. You've got Woolworths, you've got your Coles, and you got your Aldi. Maybe an IGA, maybe if you're that's such a small player. So like 3 to 4 max. And I come to the UK and oh my gosh, there are so many options and I'm kind of just like blown away with how many, and there's so much variance in different, like who stocks what and blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to make a whole video talking about all of that. Also, as you probably know, I am the V word, a vegan. Don't want to say that too loud on the internet these days, but so many of these different supermarkets have so many great options that I didn't have at home, so I thought I'll put a little bit of that in case you're at all interested. I know I get some questions sometimes about which supermarket's best for veganism, but this isn't a video all about that, but I will sprinkle some of that on. I'm going to make a hierarchy of my favorites on the side, so they'll come up. I'm not going to say them in order because then like suspense, but you'll be able to like see where they fall, okay? So we're going to start with a big player, Waitrose. Waitrose, I can't say I've ever actually shopped at it. I've looked at it, I've walked around, pretended I could afford things, but I've never actually committed to doing a full shop there. Waitrose is definitely your luxury grocery store or supermarket. However, they do have a lot of good vegan options if you can afford them. I can't say I have bought any of them, can't say I've tried them, but I know they exist. They also have meal deals there as well, and good ready-made stuff. So there is a good selection, it's just at a price point for the fancy people. So that's a middle tier for us. We can't, I'm not gonna put it too high because it's not for the everyman. I'm a cheapskate, we all know this. Not Waitrose is not my thing. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Asda. So Asda is owned by Walmart, I think. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Asda's owned by Walmart. Asda has a homeware section if you go to a big one. I did do that for a lot of my furniture and appliances. We went to an Asda and furnished like the kitchen, like my microwaves from Asda, my blender, I think my plates and stuff, like very, very affordable. I managed to fill out my entire kitchen of appliances, microwave and everything included, for £100. So I was very, very impressed. You can't do that at any supermarket or department store in Australia, ever. So it's very, very cheap. I haven't done too much food shopping at Asda just because one's not around, but from what I have done, it is quite good. So I'll put it, it's definitely higher than Waitrose because like at least it's helpful, especially if you go to the home section. It's good for fresh produce as well as processed food. So that'll be a point you'll see come up later. My favorite store in Australia out of the 3 to 4 we had was Aldi. Aldi, I love. I think it was better in Australia, controversial. We had better selection of processed foods in Australia. I still love Aldi in the UK and I still shop at Aldi here for my fresh produce because that's so cheap and good. And it's all British made from here, blah, blah, blah. I could get my health wanker food from Aldi, which was so good and so much better on my wallet. I could get maca powder, cacao powder, chia seeds, all the crappy things you don't really need, but I could get it from Aldi and it was affordable. So the Aldi near me doesn't seem to have it. I also love the wild card aisle in the middle. You never know what you're gonna get. You go in to get some carrots and you come out with a treadmill because it was on special. How are you not meant to buy it? It was cheap. I get it, I've been there. Aldi's best. It's like, if you ever read, this is such a niche reference, but you've got to tell me if you understand it, is The Magic Faraway Tree. And I grew up reading Enid Blyton books, and the faraway tree had like the top of it, the lands would change each week, I think it was. And I feel like that's Aldi. Like the middle aisle is just some random thing. You never know what you're gonna get. It changes each week. It's a magical land and you let fate decide if you need a new crock pot or not, depending on if Aldi has it. You can't plan for that middle aisle. M&S is my least favorite. It's even lower than Waitrose. So as far as I'm concerned, M&S, I think it has some good vegan food, maybe, but not as good as Waitrose. I feel like it's the same price, if not maybe slightly less than Waitrose, but nowhere near as good as Waitrose. Not that I even shop at Waitrose, but I feel like at least I can see the value somewhat in that, you know what I mean? M&S seems overpriced for what it is. Doesn't even have a good selection. I don't know why they're everywhere. I don't like M&S. I'm probably gonna get all the M&S fans down below, but M&S is not my thing. Not into it. They also have a department store. Once again, it seems very overpriced. I don't see the value in it personally. Iceland. Iceland was a fun surprise. I thought it was funny because I thought it was called Iceland like the country, and Iceland's a budget grocer. Everything's frozen, thus Iceland. However, I thought it was funny because Iceland, the country, is very, very expensive. So I was like, why would you name a budget grocery store after the most expensive country in the world? That's not what they were doing. It's Iceland, not Iceland. It took me a minute, but I got there. I love Iceland. It's so cheap, and it has really good vegan stuff there. You can get Stella McCartney pies, you can get burgers. They've got this like choc pot melty cake, lava cake thing that's vegan, and it's like £2 or £1. So good. Not good for my stomach, good for my wallet. And then they've obviously got a limited supply of gross, like fresh stuff and like, you know, spreads and produced condiments and that. Personally, I wouldn't be doing my full shop at Iceland just because I don't think they have enough, unless you eat a lot of frozen food, which I tend to make my own stuff fresh, but definitely a nice like cherry on top of your grocery shop, you know, do your bulk somewhere else that we haven't mentioned yet. Do your Aldi, get your the fresh stuff from Aldi, and you get your like specialty items and like fancy foods from Iceland. If you're throwing a party, I have no friends, so I can't throw a party, but they have so many cute like cocktail like foods and like little finger foods. I'm like, I need to make friends just to throw a party and use all this great food that they have just in Iceland. Like, I've never seen that anywhere. In Australia, some of the like niche party foods, so good. Sainsburys. Sainsburys. What can you say about Sainsburys? It's all right. It's not too expensive. I will consider shopping there. It's not my go-to, you know? Has a good selection of kind of everything. If you want fresh food or processed food, got a good mix. Pricing is okay. I wouldn't say it's like super budget, but it's also not super expensive. It's reasonable. They have a lot more Sainsbury branded stuff, so their own brand, which is good. So I don't live near a Sainsbury's, but I could see myself becoming a Sainsbury person if it happened to be convenient, you know? I think even if a Waitrose was across the road from me, out of principle, I would not shop there, you know? But yeah, Sainsbury's, I could see myself being converted to buying my processed stuff from there, you know, roasted chickpeas or something, you know, something fancy, but not too fancy. That's Sainsbury's to me, so it gets ranked. Another budget one we haven't mentioned is Lidl. Now, Lidl, I've only shopped at once, and it was in Argentina. So I can't say my experience is great to put in this video, so definitely put an asterisk. Don't hate me for not loving Lidl, just because, once again, I'm not near one. Aldi is my life. I'm in the Aldi cult, and then, you know, I'm not going to cheat on Aldi with another budget store. However, Lidl is cheap. Maybe that was owned by Walmart. Lidl's a good mixture of, I'd say Aldi's good for being cheap, but not good for processed. Lidl's better for being processed foods if you want like chips, chocolate, you know, the naughty stuff. Then you go to your cheeky foods. That is, that's your Lidl shop. Once again, if I was closer to a Lidl than I was an Aldi, I'd probably be at Lidl. You are very much like, whatever you're closest to is tend to be what you shop at, not so much brand loyalty. Where in Australia, it's like brand loyalty. Like you're a Woolworths girl, you're a Coles girl, or you're an Aldi bitch like me. One that surprised me that no one ever seems to mention is Morrison's. I think Morrison's is great. Morrison's, there's one near where I live on Holloway Road. It's massive, which for being in the inner city, as we know, I put in a previous video, very hard to find a full-size supermarket. It's almost like, as far as I'm concerned, which I don't have many Australians watching me, so this won't mean anything, but it's similar to a Woolworths to me. Because Waitrose is technically the Woolworths, being like the most expensive fancy, but Waitrose is more expensive than Woolworths. It's like next tier. But yeah, Morrison's is, I think, the most underrated of the supermarkets. Like, it's massive, you have a huge selection, it's cheap. Yeah, it's like, I'd do a shop at Morrison's any day. It's, yeah, no one seems to mention it. I feel like it gets forgotten, the forgotten hero. Maybe there's not as many around and I'm just fortunate that I'm near a big one, but... So, Co-op. Co-op, I always associate with Europe because I've always, like, I think when I was in Switzerland, it was like the only place I went to buy food because I couldn't afford to eat anywhere else, and I just bought jars of Nutella and ate that. So I associate it as like a European brand store, but they are in the UK. I think it might even be probably a different Co-op, maybe, who knows. But I like Co-op. Definitely wouldn't be doing my full shop there. Not great for fresh stuff, but it's really good for your meal deals, your takeaways, good for any like, I find like nibblies, you know? I find a fun nibbly there. So like a snack, you know, a cheeky snack that you don't see anywhere else, you're gonna find it in Co-op. It's like the fun little surprise. So I go there to just see what they've got. I don't go in with like, I've got to buy X, Y, and Z, because they probably won't have everything I need for like a weekly shop, but it's always a fun adventure when you go into a Co-op. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like the Aldi middle aisle, but in a store and only food. Does that make any sense? I'm up to my last one that I have listed down. So my last store is, you probably figured it out, Tesco. I love Tesco. Tesco's my favorite. I found a big Tesco near my house. All of you guys were really, really helpful in telling me where to find the big supermarkets because I struggled last time. I only had Metros. I also have a Tesco Metro across the road. I feel like Tesco is the most saturated. There's so many Tesco's all around London Metro, as well as big ones, Tesco Extra. But it seems to be the right price. They don't really do a homewares. So I'm like, this is a grocery store, so I'm not worried. That's not going to affect its score. But I like it because it has a big grocery section for fresh stuff, but it also has a big processed stuff. So if I want, you know, baking goods or whatever else, I can go and get that. Snack foods, my cocktail foods for the parties I don't throw. It has everything. And price-wise, I think it's not as cheap as your Asda, Lidl, and Aldi. It's like one up, so you like feel like you're not being as much of a cheapskate, but you're still not like emptying your wallet out of Waitrose. You know what I mean? It's like this really good middle ground as far as I'm concerned. Of not feeling completely out. Another thing I think Tesco does this, and Sainsburys and probably Waitrose, is they do the scanning thing, so you can shop and scan things as you go and then just pay at the end, which thank God, because I suck at this self-service. Every time I do it, it's like the pumpkin just screws it up and it thinks I'm trying to steal. And I'm like, it would honestly be easier to steal than use this damn machine. You know, like I'm trying to put the pumpkin down and it's like unexpected wait, but if I take the pumpkin off, it's fine. So I'm like, so if I didn't scan this pumpkin, it would have been fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually easier to steal. I hate their self-serve. That's another story. We have self-serve in Australia. This is not a British thing, but the scale on the self-serve does my head in. Because I used to be a cashier. I was a checkout chick when I was in university. So like, I'm so fast at scanning and doing everything, and the machine's so set up to stop you stealing that it like makes it harder, to be honest. You know what I mean? Super annoying. Regardless, what a tangent. I enjoy that you can scan and then just do it all at the end and be done. The one downside to Aldi is that they scan everything so fast. Do you know what I mean? And I refuse to put it back in my trolley, walk 3 feet to the right, and then unpack it all again and then repack it. Waste of my time. I'm gonna stand there and like try and catch it all like it's like a Mario Party game or an arcade game, trying to sort them into the right bags as I'm going. Like, I feel like one of those like anime characters with all the arms going everywhere trying to catch it, because I refuse to go to the packing area because there's always a kid sitting on the bench taking up too much room, and I'm like, I'm not here for this. Tesco, I think, still wins for me as Tesco wins for me as number one because it's the most like easy and affordable shop. You know, that's what you, at the end of the day, that's what we want. In a perfect world, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go to Aldi to get my fresh grocers, then I'm gonna go to Tesco to get my like processed foods, then I'm gonna, and health wanker foods, then I'm gonna go to an Iceland to get any specialty items, and same with the Co-op. It's just like, if I want a little treat or a surprise, I'll go to a Co-op, you know? So like, that's your shopping breakdown. However, I think you could technically just go to Tesco and get everything you need, which is why I think Tesco is number one. But Aldi is an experience in on itself, and it's almost a theme park within a store. So Aldi is a very close second, but Tesco has to take the crown. Also, Tesco has meal deals, which I didn't even touch on. There's so many videos on here on meal deals in London. Tell me if you're interested, I can do a deal. Do a thing on Tesco meal deals. Is the best, has vegan options. Almost every meal deal in all of these options has a vegan option, which, coming from Australia, fantastic. We don't have that anywhere. We don't even have meal deals. Australia's really falling behind on the convenience food front, to be honest. Even Japan's convenience food, oh, amazing. 7-Elevens. So yes, this is my final ranking of all of the grocery stores in the UK in my limited experience of being here 5 months. Tell me in the comments below what your ranking is, because I'm sure we all have different priorities and what we prefer in a store. Maybe you love a Waitrose and you're like, I'm a fancy man and I'm happy to pay the price. And that's fair too. Or you're like, Morrison's is the king. Which, to be honest, Morrison's is underrated. I don't disagree with that theory. But tell me in the comments below your ranking, and tell me if there's any supermarkets that I've left out, because there are so many in the UK that I was like trying to rack my brain to think of all of them, and these are the ones that came to mind for me that I've either seen or shopped at. But I'm always down to try a new one. You never know what you're gonna get. I didn't put in anything like Whole Foods, because who is doing their full shop at Whole Foods? Like, Whole Foods is the most like health wankery specialty food. You know, I feel like I'll Planet Organic. I like a Planet Organic, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be going in there and like doing a weekly shop. I'd be destitute in a week. Like, it takes all my money. But yeah, so tell me in the comments below what you think. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and remember to hit subscribe so I can see you next time. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.